Well, hello and welcome to the latest episode of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Very thankful that you took a few moments of or I should say, some time out of your Tuesday evening to join us. We've been missing for the last 3 weeks because of the death of my daughter. And so I pray that Allah helps me through tonight, but I think it's going to be a wonderful show. The show is not about ratings. The show is not about anything other than trying to share what's been going on in my life. And I pray that it is a benefit to you all. You know, we have serious issues happen in our life. At some point, we have to get back to a place of what may not be the same normalcy, but at some normalcy. And so today is that type of show where I am going to attempt to get back to sharing what Allah has blessed my life with, and God say the same, inshallah. Benefit somebody this evening that may be going through something difficult, or just somebody that may just need to hear something to help put them in the right direction. So in the name of Allah, the beneficent, the merciful, I bear witness there is no God but Allah, and I bear witness that Muhammad is his messenger. I further bear witness that Master Father Muhammad came as God in person, and raised one from amongst us, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, where you see those two monumental books behind me, How to Eat to Live 1 and 2, which is the foundation of this show, and has given me a whole new light and a whole new breath of fresh air when it comes to how I interact with people who are on a healing or a health journey. And of course, neither of them left us alone, but they left us with a man that has continued to guide us and to give us light in a dark time, that being Minister Louis Farrakhan. In their names, I greet you in the words of peace of Assalamu alaikum. So let me get a few shout outs, and we're going to get directly into the show. Jamil Muhammad, Damon X Johnson Sr., Deborah Muhammad, Curtis Malcolm, Mona Keen, Mogadas Nehad, Dora Muhammad, Michael Sigerson, 8th Electronics, Shaniqua Muhammad, and Samika Wallace. I thank you all. Literally, the last 21 days has been the most difficult of my life. And, I was confirmed today that we all have to look at the statement, because we say in our prayers that Allah would never put on us what we don't have the ability to handle, what we don't have the ability to bear. And there have been times over this last 21 days where I asked myself, wow, it's difficult sometimes to come to a conclusion of that you do have the ability, you do have the capability of making it through the tough time that Allah allowed to happen. And so I just wanted to talk about a few things, and then we're going to get directly into the Brotherhood and Sisterhood, and a statement that the minister made in the July 4th Criterion message, where he did not single out any particular religion. He didn't single out any particular person. He talked about this collective. And so a friend of mine is going to come on in a little while, and we're just going to talk about our brotherhood. And I pray that we help somebody that's out there that may be struggling or just has a block on, whether it's religious block or, where people are from. Or I was reading something today that was talking about the Black American and African conflict that, some of us have when we're talking about who's culture appropriating and all those type of things. And so as the Black community, we have so many different ways that we need to heal. I pray that this show tonight helps us go in that direction. So one of the things that I wanted to share with everybody is, I've had to readjust even some of the words that I say to my wife, some of the things that I am used to saying, and it's just part of my vernacular, just how I talk every day. Since the death of our daughter, I have had to make some adjustments, because I'll say certain things and I'll be like, damn, look at her. And, those words hurt, and they hurt a little differently now that something is so close to home as of losing a child. It was just a month ago, approximately, and I would say within a week or two of our daughter's death, where I said, there were two things that I mentioned that I didn't know anything about. I didn't have the experience of these two things. And one of those was losing a child. And it wasn't my biological daughter, but she was my daughter. And I didn't speak of her any other way. There's no in-law conversations with me. I don't talk about stepchildren. That's never been me nor my wife's position. We married each other and accepted each other's children. And so my daughter Kiosha was definitely a benefit in my life for the last 10 years. And she will surely be missed. And I will do everything I can to continue her legacy in any way that I can. And tonight is the beginning of that. And so I just wanted to kind of go through a few things. And I'm praying that this will help other people who are in a state of mourning, whether the person died many, many years ago, or whether you are dealing with somebody that has, one of the most important things when you're going through a situation like that is to have support, to have family, to have friends. And to me, it shows who your friends are. And, it doesn't mean that any person that attempted to do something or said something or tried to do something is any lesser than another person. But the way we show each other love, I think is so important. And it means so much when a person is going through what my wife and I and my family are going through. So I just wanted to speak on the fact that, I've gotten many, many, many text messages, many emails, many messages through social media, and they all mean so much. They all mean so much. You can't measure how much they mean when you're in pain and somebody tries to console you. But I just want to let people know that showing up in person is so much more meaningful than a text, a call, an email, or a message sent by somebody. The way that my friends and loved ones just came in my presence and put their arms around me, put their arms around my wife and said a few words, that energy that feeds you gives you the sense that you can make it another day, the sense that you can get over whatever hump that it is that you're dealing with, because there's different things every day. There's some days where my wife and I will have a good day. And then there's some days where we have a horrible day. And there's some moments where we're happy and even thinking about her. And then there are other moments where we can't even hold back the tears. And then there are moments where I am dealing with my own demons. Like, as a child, my father always talked about crying in association with being a punk. So, that's just my reality as growing up as a young boy into a man. Crying is just not something men do. And that's just not true. That may have been his reality, but I'm here to tell you that real men cry because Allah put tear ducts in our bodies, and the tears that come in our eyes when we're going through certain emotions is a natural reality that we have to accept, even with some of the stuff that we've been fed that has proven to be not true. So on Sunday, I think it was Saturday morning, Sunday, I was exercising and I was listening to some music, and the music started making me think of Kiosha, and my eyes just started watering. And the first thing that came to my mind is, why the hell are you crying? And then I had to quickly destroy that thought and go back to, you're doing the process of healing. It's going to take some crying. It's going to take some being angry. Those steps of grief and grieving and mourning where we sometimes feel guilty. Sometimes you feel angry. Sometimes you feel like, if I coulda, shoulda, woulda. Those are natural processes of going through the process of grief, the process of mourning, the process of bereavement. And, I must add that for those of us in the Nation of Islam, we are taught that you can grieve. You can mourn, but you don't grieve. And that's something that I'm growing in the understanding of. I can't say as I sit here in front of you today that I really understand that process. I've listened to the minister. I've listened to multiple janazas. I've listened to, of course, him over many, many years, but it's still a process. It's still something that we have to learn, go through, travel, and walk through that journey ourselves to have a complete understanding of it. I don't doubt what he says in any way. And I pray that anybody that hears this, that listens to this, doesn't think that I'm trying to tell you that you have to go listen to the minister. No, that's where I get my solace. That's where I get my understanding. That's who has brought me so far in my own personal journey from a spiritual perspective. And so if TD Jakes is the person that you go to, I know over the last 21 days, I haven't listened to anybody but the minister. But before this journey is over, I will listen to TD Jakes because I love TD Jakes and the way he gives sermons and uses his stories and his own life situations to help us understand. That's what the minister does as well. The minister just is my foundation. And so if your pastor or a synagogue, I don't know what they call the person in a synagogue, but I'll just use minister since I don't know the word. If there's a minister at a synagogue, we have to go to those places. Go to the places that have given you your support over the years. Go to the source that has gotten you where you are. And if there's a void and you don't feel like there is anything out there that you know of that can support you, go searching. Ask somebody that you trust. Go on like YouTube and put in a search on what you're looking for and see what comes up. This is not a process that has been just difficult only. It's been extremely difficult. I can't even imagine what my wife is going through because my daughter came through her. And my daughter was of course, in her life, all of her life. But what I do know is in the midst of turmoil, in the midst of the darkness, there was some light, there was some benefit, there was some beauty, there was some lessons, there were many of Allah's signs in every step of the way, people that showed up. And I don't think I'm going to mention anybody's names tonight because I don't want to forget anybody. But the people who showed up and the people that came and made sure that we were comforted and the people that opened up their homes and the people that continued to check on us and the people that came and continued to come. And some people just came and they didn't say anything. They just cried with us. Some people came and tried to do everything for us so that we wouldn't have any burden of the day-to-day activity of whatever we had to do. I mean, it's relatively, I'm speechless on how to thank them. My words aren't adequate. And it's life altering, life benefiting. And I think that is what I've learned from Minister Farrakhan is that in our trial, in our trouble, in our difficulty is when we are being grown and we're being, for a lack of a better analogy, I would say like putting fertilizer on a plant. So no question in my mind, there's many of you that are listening that probably have some difficulty in look at it. There's a verse in the Quran that says trials are made to purify. So, who are we to not think that we're going to go through a trial? I mean, I had no idea that was going to happen, but losing my daughter made 2020 just as bad as everybody has been saying 2020 is. It solidified that statement, but I also think it's one of the greatest years as far as introspection and growth from a spiritual perspective, because every single time where I'm looking at things and how negative they were, I have to admit that in those same times, I'm looking at how wonderful Allah is to be able to do this and do that and allow this to happen and allow this to happen. And so I pray, growing in my faith. I pray that I am being an example to anybody that looks at me. And I pray that my family will see a way. I pray that I am being a representative and being a good example because I can't even imagine anybody else going through this. And be an example like the minister is. I've never seen the minister back down through his troubles. He lost his son, so he understands to whatever degree we can understand each other. And that's another point that I would like to say. I never feel like I have the right to tell anybody what to do, but I can suggest what I have learned, and I can suggest to others what I don't necessarily think is good in a time like this. To ask somebody um, how they are doing in a time like this, I think it's just a lack of thought with that question. Again, I'm not trying to put anybody down. I know a lot of people meant well, but people telling my wife, "Oh, you're so strong." That those are sometimes things that we have to think about before we say anything. There are times when um, we need each other so much that we have to just take enough time to put ourselves in a place where we're making sure we're thinking about what we are saying to a person before we say it, right? Because there just are a need. There's a need in the person who is suffering, and there's a need in the person who is, I've been using the word scatterbrain. I mean, my mind is all over the place in so many different things, and some things that I'm trying to concentrate on, I can't really concentrate on. I didn't even have the ability to concentrate. Like, we're in the midst of reading this book. I'm way behind, but I still want to give us a few minutes today to talk about what you all have gotten in the book. And so, that's it. We have the ability to be so powerful with and within each other, right? I was talking to somebody about resources because we did need a place to stay for, I had like 8 family members come in one day, or 7 or 8, something like that. They all came in one day, and people just opened up their homes to us because we were in need. That's such a beautiful show of graciousness and love and kindness. There were people, like I said before, that came and cooked meals for us. I'm not just 1 or 2 days. I'm talking about 2 weeks. We didn't have to buy any food. We didn't have to make any food. Those things are amazing, and it's just the resource of a human being means much more than the resource of money or the resource of a place or a resource of a thing. And one of the lessons that I'm for sure that I learned in this process is that, we really have to be careful with our children. We really have to be careful with trying to formulate ideas for them and not giving them the ability to grow and mature and go in their own way. Yes, we are there for guidance, but sometimes we're so I have been so trying to, be that guide instead of letting God be their guide. And me just be a person that helps here and there in the way. Because Kiosha's biological father had a chance to go and be with her. I think it was a week before she died, and he didn't wind up going on a trip, and that's something that he's going to fight with. The last time I saw my daughter, looked at her. She had a book. It said The History of God. I know that my daughter was on a quest to get to know God for herself. I saw her sitting there. I said to myself, I'm going to go sit down with her and talk to her about God. And then I quickly changed, like, I've done that too many times already. Let me let her do her thing. We'll talk about it the next time I see her. Not going to happen. But I do regret that there may be other times where I just didn't pull her close to me and her times Walk by and I'm busy doing what I'm doing. But that's part of the healing process. I want to think about her every day. I made a playlist of every song that I think about her. I'm going to put that on that playlist because I want her in my thoughts every day. I want her in my thoughts on a regular basis. That's how I'm going to heal. That's how she's going to maintain herself in my life and everybody that I go out here and affect in a positive way by keeping her in the forefront of my mind and healing in that manner. And so, just as my suggestion, don't run away from the loved one that you've lost. Don't run away from the thought. Don't run away from the pictures. Don't run away from the conversations. Talk about them, look at them, experience them as much as you possibly can. That is part of the healing process. I was listening to the minister today, and he was talking about he's never felt bad. And I'm paraphrasing. Please don't. It was the janaza for Rahman Muhammad, but he talked about the fact that he's never really missed the Honorable Elijah Muhammad because he thinks about him every day. He has him in the forefront of his mind, and he's always out here trying to work and do the work that was and is his of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. So, that's just some of the things that have helped me make it through the last 21 days. And I pray that I make it to a place where I am at a good place and a healthy place when it comes to my daughter. And I appreciate all of you for coming and spending time today. And I appreciate you. I know there's some things down here that you all have said that are really wonderful. I am not going to read them now because I really don't want to break down right now. I want to just move on into the next part of the show. But for those of you who have and are still reading this wonderful book that we are reading, Medical Apartheid, make your comments so we can, continue that conversation as well. I am behind in the book, trying to remember what page I'm on. I think I'm on 100 something. I'm on 91. I'm way behind, but I'm going to catch up. I'm just going to have to increase my reading, you all. But Erica Perez, who was the person that suggested that we read Medical Apartheid and start this book club, she reached out to me. I honestly read her email today. I don't even know what day she sent it, but she was just talking about what she's learned from this book and how angry it is making her. And she also just talked about some of the changes that she has made since she's been reading How to Eat to Live and watching this show. And it was just a beautiful expression. I thank you, sister, for not only that email, but the wonderful ideas and telling me about your brother and your mom. That was a beautiful email. I know many of you others have sent as well. I said I wasn't going to say any names, but I just mentioned her because I just finished reading it before I got here. And she's the one that came up with the wonderful idea of that reading. So go ahead and drop your comments. I will get a chance to read them, and we will continue our conversation on the book, Medical Apartheid. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring in my friend. I met this young man in 1985. I remember it like it was yesterday. We were at, I don't remember if it was a football game or what it was, my brother, but I remember being introduced to you. And in this introduction, it's my man, David Townsall, by the way. He was standing to my left with another friend of mine named Jay to my left, and two other friends to my right, Rick and Ron Scott. And they were about to get into a conflict. They were having an argument. It wasn't like no friendly thing. I was introduced to them, and then it turned into an argument. And I told Dave one day, I said, man, Rick has been my friend all my life, and I just met you today. So if I was going to ride with somebody, I was going to ride with a dude that I knew all my life. But I'm just saying that as a joke. Me and this brother met in 1985, and we've been friends ever since. And he has been one of the most beautiful examples that I've had of a Christian. And he and I he's practiced Ramadan with me. I practiced Lent with him. we've sat down and we've studied the Bible, studied the Quran, and we've never had any conflict. We have not had one conflict when it comes to our expression of our spirituality. We've always respected each other. We've learned from each other. I've been to his church. He's been to the mosque. And we just wanted to come and share because he is one of the people that has comforted me in the last 21 days. And so I just want to read a couple of things out of the Quran, if you all don't mind. And then we're going to let my brother introduce himself and we're going to get into this conversation and then let you all go on about your evening. So here is Surah 262 in the Quran. It says, surely those who believe and those who are Jews and the Christians and the Sabaeans, whoever believes in Allah and the last day and does good, they have their reward with their Lord, and there is no fear for them, nor shall they grieve. And then in I think I lost my spot. Let me see. No, I didn't. This is Surah 5:69. And it says, surely those who believe and those who are Jews and the Sabaeans and the Christians, whoever believes in Allah in the last day and does good, they shall have no fear, nor shall they grieve. And so before I turn it over to my brother David, anybody, I say this statement all the time, anybody who is claiming to be a Muslim and they have negative things to say about Christians and other religions, got a little more studying to do. So go ahead, my brother. How are you this evening?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. I want to thank you first for having me on the show, and blessings to all your listeners and followers. And again, I know you say it's a cliche, man, but you know what you and Tawana are going through, man, we are with you in spirit, and we have kept you in our prayers every day. And if it's anything, man, don't hesitate to ask. Don't
Yes,
hesitate.
sir.
Again, I'm David Tonsel. Me and this brother, I remember that particular incident back on the stands, and we've become friends. We're fraternity brothers. We've gone through life together, and going through life together, you tend to understand that people are people, and I've read the Quran. I understand the Quran. You've read the Bible. You understand the Bible, and it's just amazing to me that there are friends of ours or people that don't see the similarities.
Right.
And there are so many similarities, and we've had this the word difficult is the cult of difference. And so when people tend to let the differences stand
That's right.
strong in front of them, then that's why we can't come together. But love conquers everything. And man, shoot, man, I don't care. I can remember we were sitting at Thy Kingdom Come, and Brother Isaiah said something one time, and I can't remember. I'm a paraphrase, but it was basically saying that, hey, man, we got to learn each other. No, we don't have to learn each other. We already know each other. So we just learning, our spirituality,
Right.
and that's what I proceeded forward from then, because I was one of those, hey, look, man, I'm a Bible thumper. Not that
Yeah.
I'm a Bible thumper, but I read this, and then that opened me up to reading, and I was like, really, I made a choice from ignorance. Just if you don't know, you're ignorant, and so once you decide to take a leap of faith and study, then you'll find that, oh, wait a minute, man. The Quran mentions Jesus. The
That's
Quran
right.
mentions Abraham.
Yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. You know what? I don't know if I ever told Brother Isaiah thank you. But to be honest with you, that's exactly what happened. And so
Yeah.
our friendship goes, man, we've had our ups and our downs. We've cried together. We've learned together, and
Yeah.
and that's what's important. And then, man, first of all, I think we as black men, I don't care if you are a part of David Koresh, an ex-member of David Koresh's.
Right.
If you're a black man, we definitely have something in common that we have to be able to discuss. And once you have that discussion, it opens up your mind. And once you open up your mind, your heart follows. And that's just how I feel about it, brother.
And the amazing thing, brothers and sisters, about the people that I call friends, I would say that this brother represents that to such a degree. The two stories that, I already called him a friend before these stories, but these two stories that I'm about to tell real quick will let you know what type of a friend that he is. The first one was I was going through my divorce. And well, I know I had been through my divorce, and my ex-wife married another guy, and my children were being moved to Baton Rouge. So I was on the phone with him one day, and I said, man, if this dude puts his hands on my children, I'm going down there and I'm going to murder somebody. And he said, man, that's some BS, man. And I was, at first I looked at the phone like, man, who the hell does he think he's talking to? And so he went on to remind me that his son wasn't his biologically. And he took that young man in, raised that young man as his own, disciplined that young man. All the positives and the negatives were part of the reality of raising a child. And it's that type of conversation that when we have been expressing ourselves to each other, we don't play games with each other. If we know that there's something that we have to say to each other that is corrective, or sometimes even you got to, shock value your friend to bring them back to a reality. And that day I realized, like many times before, I realized, man, he's not just going to tell me what I want to hear. He's going to tell me what it is that's right. And then the second time that happened was just a year ago when I had a little conflict with my son. My son did something that I didn't agree with, and something that I basically told him not to do. And the next time he came back to the city to see me, actually, I didn't answer his calls. I didn't go pick him up from the airport. I just ignored him. In my mind, I was teaching him that he's not a man and he can't make man decisions, or, you can get out there and try to make it like a man. And my brother corrected me, and that I'm the father, he's the boy, he doesn't have the experiences that I have, and that I needed to readjust that, reach out to him and do what I needed to do to take care of him, and then try to find a way to teach that lesson at a later time. So tell a little bit about why you made those decisions, bro, and why it was so easy for you to just be 100% real.
Man, because look, we was raised that way. Nah, because I love you, my brother.
Yeah.
One of the things that happens when and let me use this example. I guess when I think back over these soon to be 57 years, the truest people that I ever experienced are those that I really grew up with. And the younger, the more truer. I mean, I can remember people in my neighborhood, man, kids out there popping wheelies. Well, if somebody don't like something, they're gonna say something. If they like something, if their mama yell at them, they might cry. But all of those emotions were really right out in front.
Right.
It was right there. Now I experienced that in college to those that I was close to. But when I was coming up, it was somebody that you played basketball with on the court. And it was so honest. It was just honestly that. And I personally, I believe that's what Jesus Christ, man, when he said, man, when you enter into heaven, you're going to enter as a child. You're going to be telling the truth. Yes. Well, guess what? As we got older, I believe people are just like seasons. We have spring, winter, summer, fall. Most of us try to put on spring most of the time. Between those that you love, though, man, they might see some winter or some fall. They might see some cold. And we as a people, we have to get to the point where, hey, my feelings ain't hurt if you tell me the truth about you. Now, yeah, it don't feel good. They say the truth hurts. And it only hurts because it's going divergent to what, you may have been thinking. And you've been married a while, so you already know. Man, that person next to you, man, sometimes I wish exit would just be, man, why don't you just say what I wanted you to say? I wasn't ready to hear that right now. Yeah. But the reality is that that's what friends really do. And And I guess that's a learned behavior. You have to learn to be that way, because a
That's
lot
right.
of you want to sit back and say, "Oh well, I don't want to hurt their feelings." Man, we are just a life of feelings. We
That's right.
all have feelings and emotions, so we have to be able to speak that. And man, don't get me wrong, you have to be able to discern the proper timing and
Right.
things like that. But it has to be truthful. And in those two examples that you used, hey, I was right there. It was the proper time because it was happening at that moment. A
Right.
lot of times we don't get a chance to speak at the moment. You hear something afterwards, you're hearing something later on, and the opportunity feels different. When somebody tells me something about something I did, 2 years ago versus, well, yeah, okay, I did it yesterday and we talking about it. And there's your window. And that's my humble opinion.
Right. Yeah, I remember, bro. When we both lived in the same neighborhood, man. I think it was maybe about 2, maybe even more years where we would meet up in the morning, 5, 6 o'clock in the garage, and read a little scripture, do a little workout, do a little walking, riding bikes, whatever we were doing. And I remember all those years. I used to always say, this is before I was even in the nation. And I remember all those years we would do that, and I would be growing so much. I would be growing from these scriptures, and then you know, sometimes we would read scriptures and then we go out in our daily life and whatever we were doing, we're like, damn, man, look what God allowed to happen to 100% supplant that scripture in my heart, my soul, and my mind, because you read it and then you go experience something in life and you're like, man, I can never get that out of my spirit. I can never get that out of my mind. That has forever changed me for the benefit and given me the ability, like the scripture says, to spittle, and now you see men as they are instead of seeing them as trees.
Mm-hmm.
So as far as your experience, bro, what is it that you believe is different about your experience? And then also maybe your upbringing that allowed you to have such an open mind as a Christian. You know what your foundation is. You know what your spirituality is based on. And I've seen you go out, brothers and sisters. I've seen this brother year after year after year after year. Every weekend he'll go and do a good deed. And for years, I'll be like, yeah, man, I'm gonna go do one of them good deeds with you in one of these mornings. I ain't done it yet. I got my own good deeds that I do, but this man has just proven to me, and he's been one of those type of people that he doesn't have to say it. You can just watch what he does, and this is a man of God. So, what would you say that produced that in you, bro? Not only being the type of person that walks what he says he believes, but also the person that has the type of studying mind. Like I've seen you study many different religions, many different scriptures, many different aspects of so-called spirituality. And that's not typical. So what would you say lends you to that reality?
Well, I guess first of all, it's boy, you got me with that question. I think it would be my upbringing.
Yeah.
I come from a religious family, in particularly my grandmother. I man, she used to talk the Bible, and when you're young, you're not trying to hear it. You're just not. But I watched her go through struggle after struggle, and the day before she passed away, back in my drinking days, I came to the house. X and I were just married, and I came to the house and I said, "Dang, I gotta go see Big Mama." And the visiting hours were about to be done in 5 minutes. I wasn't gonna get up there, and my wife said, "You know what? They're not gonna let you in." I said, "No, they're gonna let me in. They gonna even see me." And sure enough, I walked in, walked past everybody, Akili, and went in the room. And my grandmother said, I done told you a lot of stuff over these days. And I'm like, "What you talking about?" She said, you better not forget some of the things that I've told you, son. And don't you worry about me." And of course, after the 6 pack of light beers and hanging with the homies, I'm just looking at, "Hey, Grandma, I love you. I'll be back to see you tomorrow." She said, "You hear me? Don't forget." And brother, that morning they called me first thing that morning, say, "Your grandmother passed away."
Mhm.
That's one of those life experiences that I was
Right.
like, so I sat down and tried to write down the things that I could remember. And of course you can't remember stuff. But so much stuff is done just because the way they feel it. And that lesson back in 1990, helped solidify some of the things that I say forced me, and then my own life lessons. This happens,
Right.
and happens, and the things that scar us teach us. The things that scar us teach us. The things
Right.
that are painful are the things that give us our best lessons. And a man that thinks the same, that when he was 29, when he's 59, well, he's lived every day the same day.
Right.
So, going out and seeing despair, and of course, reading the Bible, looking at how Jesus Christ, he really didn't go hang out with the rich. He tended to, let me feed the hungry, let me heal the sick.
That's right.
And those type of things. I'm thinking, wow, imagine if he had a car. You know what I'm saying? Imagine if he had a car, he could have traveled and did more. And what I found, bro, is, man, it's on every corner. You have to be blind. You have to try not to see.
That's right.
You have to try not to see that people are in need. And 2020, I call it, it's the year of the vision. You're gonna have to open your eyes in 2020. You're gonna be able to see really well. And this may be that year that, when you go out, and coupled with the fact that, my parents got divorced. I've seen my brother out there. So I've been in some places that I never thought I'd be in when I was 16, and in those kind of places, let me go in here and let me just do this, let me just go into this house, walk around, waving a tool and saying, hey, I'm looking for Jeff Thompson. Where you at? Man, what are you doing in here?
Yeah.
Well, I'm in here trying to do a mission to help my brother.
Right.
Guess what? That word there, help my brother, is something that we all should be doing daily, and if you, most of all, we help ourselves, don't get me wrong, our education and our chase, quote unquote, chase of the American dream lends us to helping ourselves. And so for me personally, it's been a myriad of things, including having friends like you who help, steel sharpen steel. Thy kingdom come. I
That's
work
right.
with another brother, give something back. Things were introduced to me, and I guess the thing that's for sure is that we learn that we can't never quit. We done both skin up our knees and elbows, and I tell people, man, God should have put some knee pads on these knees. It seemed like that would have been a proper tool
Right.
to put on a brother's knees, because
Yeah.
man, you got to get on there to pray. And,
That's right.
And being on your knees when you pray, because I got to a point where, man, you know what, I don't feel like getting down on my knees. And almost every time I say I'm gonna just pray laying down, it seems like something will happen.
Yeah.
Like it's something simple. Oh man, look what happened, man. My brake shoes went out. And the first thing I think about.
I don't know what happened to my brother, but hopefully he'll come back in, y'all. Tell one more quick story about my brother Dave. He was the first person that I experienced in my life of bringing his mother to his house in hospice. I hadn't seen that. I hadn't had that experience before. When I was graduating from high school and getting ready to go to college, he's back. I'm about to bring him back in, y'all. Yeah, I was about to tell a quick story. I'll let you answer this one, bro. When I was finished college, I think my first year at Prairie View, my grandfather came to stay with us. I think he stayed with us for a few years before I graduated. But when I left and went to college and went back, my grandfather started having hallucinations, and he actually threatened to kill my son. I mean, my younger brother one day. And so my mother was like, I can't have, this in the house, threatening my children, such. And so we wound up putting him in some home, and not long after that, he wasn't alive anymore. But this man right here was the first one that I saw that when his mother got sick, he brought her in his house, and she spent her last days and her last breaths in his house. And that was a decision that he made. And I'm not going to lie to y'all, I was a physician at that time, by that time. And that was one of the most brave things I had ever seen in my life, because I was always the type of person that said, I don't ever want my mother or my father or any of my family members to be in some home. I wanted it to be in our house or some family member's house where we could come together and take care of them. But he was the first person that I saw live that reality. And, he sat down and talked to me, asked me a bunch of questions, asked me this, that, this, and that, and this, and that. And next thing I know, he called me and said, "Hey, man, my mom's coming over here today." I think I came over there when they were putting the oxygen in and putting the bed and all that kind of stuff, when they were getting your home all together. And then within a few days after that, she was there. And I would go by and, check on him and just to make sure he didn't have any questions. But to me, just watching that reality, bro, that was truly phenomenal. And that's what I mean, brothers and sisters. And that's the reason why I wanted him to come on, because again, we're talking about, today's show was about bereavement. It's about grief. It's about mourning. We're all going to do it because nobody has come on this planet that's not going to get up off of it. Matter of fact, one of his favorite statements is, "You're not going to get up out of here alive." All of us are going to have to taste that at some point, and all of us are going to have to experience that at some point. And again, today's show, I pray that it just helps somebody that was going through something, help somebody that may be getting ready to go through that, because we don't know who's going to be affected by this virus. We don't know who's going to be affected by the type of medical problems that are killing more people than the virus. You don't know if somebody's going to have a car accident. We don't know what's going to happen. And so that's what today's show was about, is about that brotherhood, that sisterhood, that friendship, that support system that we all need, because as we are going through whatever we're going through in our life, it takes support. So, what do you think was your, where did that strength come from, brother, to make that decision to bring your mother into your house? That's not like I said before, that's not necessarily typical.
Man, and especially in these times with COVID, there are so many people that are entering into the hospital and dying by themselves. They're not having family members around them, and it was one of those things that I talked to mom, and she, one of her biggest fears, to let you know, she didn't want to pass away around the girls.
Mm.
I don't want to be sick. I don't want to die and they be in the house and they come in there and find me. Which to me, I guess they were relatively young. Chloe may have been 10.
Yeah.
So they were relatively young. And, I sat down and talked to the missus and basically told her, "Hey, this is my mom. This is my mother. And she is at a point that there's no saving. There's no other direction but towards death." And so I wanted to be near my mom to spend some time with her, because she was hard headed. That's where I really get it from. She was a person who was like, "Now, I'm gonna go do this. I'm gonna go get me an apartment." And she's a 10-year cancer survivor, a breast cancer survivor. But that decision was made after much prayer. It was something that okay, God, I'm going to bring this to my family. I need to be strong. And to the story, because you were there, I leaned on you for advice, and I can remember Stephen and all of them. Afterwards, I found this out, that hey, we're going to be strong for Dad. This is what he's going to do. We're going to be strong for him. And
Right.
so, Akili, that particular night, I mean, unfortunately I'd seen cancer death before in my family. My grandfather passed away from it. So I explained to Stephen and Exie that, hey, she's in pretty bad shape and she'll probably deteriorate pretty fast. And so they had decided that they were all going to be strong, bro. And so I can remember it. And you said something earlier, I'm going to digress. I can remember you when you sat back and said that you're going to keep that memory, alive and visit that. That's very important. That is very important for your children, for your grandchildren that you don't even have yet. We all are just 2 generations from being forgotten. But anyway, coming back to the story, man, we came in here and I told my wife, I said, it probably won't be long now. And she kind of was, okay, do we call the hospital? You know, she hadn't experienced that.
Right.
And so, do we call the hospital? What do we got? Do we need to get an ambulance out here? No, this, you know, I came in here and Stephen came in here, was actually strumming the guitar, Keely. He was strumming the guitar, playing some music. And, you know, you're a physician. You know, when the rise and fall stop in the chest, you know that things are going to deteriorate pretty fast. And it was her breathing was more and more shallow with the oxygen. And when it stopped, I cut it off. And the only thing I could go up to her, and your heart is an amazing muscle. You know that. So
that's right.
Nothing else was functioning, but that it was a small thump
right
on the chest. That's all it was. Thump, thump, every once in a while. And, you know, my wife, I think actually was probably more scared than Steven. And, you know, my heart broke. You know, that was the last moment that I had with my mom. But the memories are so vivid. The memories are always there. But guess what? I held Stephen and Exia because they were both boohooing. They were gonna be strong for me, and they were like crying like babies, you know. And I'm trying to hold them up, and I find myself trying to be strong. And the amazing part about life is after I put them in the bed and put the girls to sleep, I went out on my patio and I cried like a baby by myself. And thank God for the time that I had with my mother. Thank them for the extra 10 years because, like I said, she was a 10-year breast cancer survivor.
Yes.
So, you know, I don't know, man. Strength comes from having a strong spirit. Like somebody like you. I mean, what we gonna do? What we gonna do? We all gonna. We ain't getting up out of here alive, bro. And so, what we gonna do? You know, and when our loved ones pass on, we got a couple of options. We can send them to the hospital and go visit them there. But she was comfortable. She was comfortable here. And she laughed and she smiled and she talked on her last day, the little bit that she could, you know.
That's right.
You know. Anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I remember those days, man. I remember coming by there and it was amazing to me because, like I said, that was my first experience. And my initial thought, you know, I did whatever you asked me to do. But my initial thought was, man, that house is going to be like dark. It's going to be so dark there because of, you know, that whole perspective. And of course, I was a young physician. I think I had only been practicing maybe about 4 or 5 years at that point. Might have been even less than that. And so I wasn't comfortable with death at that point. You know what I mean? I was more comfortable with, okay, I'm going to do something about this. I'm going to help. I'm going to such. But it's always some plan of action. And when I would come by and visit y'all and you smiling and she was sitting over there and y'all telling jokes and talking about times, and I was like, man, that's a festive attitude over there. And it changed my whole perspective. That was one of the things I think that really changed my reality of death. But it was my first positive reality with death. It's like you were saying about family members. You go to the hospital and you see them and you be like, damn, that don't look nothing like uncle. That don't look nothing like cousin. You know what I mean? They look horrible. They've lost a lot of weight. This medical problem has made them just look bad. But your mom looked at peace when I would come over to your house. Your mom was around family. Your mom was enjoying her last, whatever was in her mind. Because, you know, you and I have talked about this many times. A lot of people know. They know it's going to end. They, like your grandmother, she knew she wasn't going to wake up that next morning.
I believe.
But, you know what I mean? But there's something about making that decision in peace rather than making that decision in the hustle and bustle of a hospital and people checking on you. And maybe people aren't checking on you when they should, or maybe people not treating you right, whatever the case may be. And so, again, it's just about, you know, our ability to put things in the right perspective because, you know, as you were talking about that, bro, I'm thinking about the reality of what I do for a living. And I really believe that I was blessed by God to be this. So think about it. Every time somebody presents a problem to Brother Dr. Akili, I'm trying to say, okay, how can we fix this? How can we improve this? What can we do? What can we do? Right now, when it comes to my wife, sometimes I just need to sit there and just be quiet, just listen, just hold her, just be in her presence.
That's right.
Sometimes I have to do that with my daughters, my sisters, my grandmother, my great grandmother. I'm talking about all on my wife's side. I went to see my mother. My mother had a good relationship with Kiosha. She was breaking down. I just had to be there. I just sat there and just held her. My mother grabbed the obituary and then walked away from me into her bathroom. And I heard her do like that while she was walking away. I said, man, she's crying. And my mom she's not one of them type of people like crying in front of anybody. So after all these years of me being her son, she wanted to walk away and cry out of my presence. I went behind her and I just stood next to her and just put my hands on her. I didn't say a word. Mm-hmm. And that's something that you have to grow into the ability to do, because we as people have been trained and conditioned to try to use words to comfort people. And sometimes words will not do it justice. Sometimes your presence is all that's needed.
That's right.
And, you know, and that's what I'm talking about. There's been some very valuable lessons that I've learned in this process. And, you know, just to kind of recap, that's one of them. Be in your people's presence. If somebody is going through something difficult, you know, and when it comes to like the most stressful things, when they go and evaluate things, losing a child is number one.
Yep. I
think losing a sibling is number two. Divorce is number three. Losing a job is somewhere in the top five. But, you know, when we are experiencing people that are going through these things, I pray that if nothing else comes out of this show, that we are intentional,
yes,
present, and honest when we express ourselves to somebody. Because, you know, I'm a type of person that, you know, I speak, you know, when I'm around the people, I do talk, you know, and I have an older brother who was the type of person that didn't do much talking at all. He would sit. We'd have family gatherings. Sometimes my brother would sit in the corner and just say nothing and just watch all day. And when everybody left and went back home, he could tell us something about every single person that was there in depth. Mm-hmm. So, you know, God makes us different. But, you know, I am thankful for Keosha. I'm so thankful that she was a part of my life, you know, and I have quite a few children left to be a part of their lives. Kiana, Kiera, Khalil, Aja, Makai, Mariam, and then my granddaughter, Amaria. I don't differentiate which children come from me and which ones that I married or which ones I chose to be in their life. They all are my children. And I have plenty nieces and nephews. And for the rest of my time on this earth, I'm going to try to continue to be that, what I just said, intentional, present, and honest, because that's what I needed over the last 21 days. I needed honesty. I didn't need somebody to come and say a term to me or say a phrase to me. I just needed them to come and just, like this brother right here, he came, I was on my way somewhere else. He showed up at the house. I didn't even know he was coming. He hit me on the phone, was like, yo, man, I'm at the house. I said, damn, I just left there, bro. He said, yeah, come on back, man. I just want to see you. And that's really all it was, man. He grabbed me, held me. We just started talking. It's not really about anything in particular that you need to do. It's just that interaction, that human interaction, that love that you're expressing. It comes out sometimes without even words. And, you know, last thing is, you know, just be very careful in the things that we say to each other. And I want to practice this all the time. Last thing, and I want to just get your point on that, bro, about you when you came to see me, and the first thing you did, you just grabbed, you didn't say nothing for a couple of minutes, actually. But I found myself being my old me today. I was at the gas station, and this lady walked out of, you know, going inside to buy something, and she was walking to her car, which was right next to mine. And I remember looking at her and be like, oh, I started making these critiques of her and criticisms of her. I don't even know her. Never seen her before. And I quickly checked myself. I was like, damn, that's what my daughter taught me, not to be that way. And then I immediately started saying other things like, man, I don't have any idea what that woman has been through. I don't have any idea why she dresses like that, why she's wearing that makeup, why her hair is like that, why any of those things that I was trying to criticize, none of that matters when you start looking at people from the perspective of the true essence of the fact that all of us were made by God. All of us have our own journey. And when I, as a person who's in his 50s now, look at younger people, the only thing that I can say is they were made into who they were, who they are by the people that either raised them, conditioned them, or destroyed them.
Mm-hmm.
I use this as an example with a lot of young people. A lot of young people are in a ditch, in a hole that they can't get out of. And so those of us that are there for support, it's almost like they're in a hole that they can't get out of, right? They can climb up a little bit, then they fall back in, or they can't get a grip, or they just can't out. But they're sitting looking at all the people that are supposed to be their support mechanism. And we're talking to them and we're consoling them and we're doing things for their life. But the only people that can fill that hole, the only people that can solve that void that's in them are either the people that caused the problem or God. And so many of us found God through our travels, through our trials and tribulations. I know that nobody would be interested in me being their physician if they saw me when I was a junior in high school, or when I was in junior high, or when I was a freshman or sophomore in college. Some of the things that I was involved with, some of the things that I was doing, the way that I used to spout off my mouth, people would be like, we ain't never going to go support him as no doctor, even if he does make it. And so my only point is that none of us are perfect. No one needs to be castigated, and nobody needs to be thought evil of. We have to have, especially as our Black community, we have to grow into the ability to just accept people. It doesn't mean that we accept them to stay where they are. We all have to grow. We all have to be, if we're older than people or we have more experience than other people, it's our duty to help them learn. It's our duty to help them grow. But we shouldn't put down a person when we don't understand where they've come from, or we don't understand that shoe that they walk, because we haven't walked a mile in it. That makes sense, my bro?
Oh, definitely. 100%. 100%. Yeah, as one of the things for sure, as we journey, I've had some things happen, and one of my 2009 tragedies, a brother came by the house and he said, "Hey man, now this is where you are in your book of life. This is something that happened in your book of life. And guess what? Your book of life gonna go on. Now you probably won't live the same, but your book of life is still being written.
That's right.
It's written to a tune in which now you have to make some different choices. It's like me. Well, guess what? I don't drink no more. Life took care of that. Not only if I'd have known it was gonna take me to a point, I probably wouldn't have drank it. Well, guess what? Hindsight is 2020. You ain't know you was gonna get there. You don't know what's gonna happen.
That's right.
Once things happen, you can decide which direction that you are going to go. And the truth is, there are so many young people out there trying to make decisions as an adult, and I think that's important, because a 13-year-old shouldn't be trying to decide, oh man, I gotta make money so I can buy some shoes. I gotta make money. Man, at 13, I was trying to make sure the ball went in the rim at Cloverland Park. That's what I was doing.
That's right.
I'm shooting basketball all day. And it's an amazing phenomenon when you get to spend time with some of these youngsters, what they're concerned with.
Right.
And not that we can go back and correct that, but I think you said it. They're in that hole and they're trying to find a way. And our society is such a gain society that everybody can't be a chief, and don't nobody want to be an Indian.
Right.
That's what's amazing. I'm like, well, okay, how do we, one of the greatest questions is, how do we fix that as a people? How do we fix our, not fix, that's the wrong term. How do we get them to see that they're valuable exactly where they are? Exactly where they are. You're a value. You don't have to have on the Michael Jordans to add value to your spirit. You're already there.
That's right.
And I see it, and it, that's a puzzle to me. That's one of the ones that I try to work at. When I do my 2-week staycation in B County, I try to talk to those guys and make sure, ensure that they're, hey man, shoot, give me a call. And I don't talk to some of them. Hey, what you really trying to do? And surprisingly enough, Akili, a lot of them really don't know.
Exactly.
They don't have a planned path today.
That's right.
And that's one of the things that our parents gave us. At least we had PV. Shout out to the hill. We got up there and we started focusing our life in a direction. And I think it's what I see now. it's just so many options that it's no options. You know, it's just so many things. I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And the information that we got when we had to get a book, go to the library, pull it off the shelf, read it, write it down, and they got it at fingertips.
That's right.
And you wonder why, what do they call it? Attention deficit disorder is actually on the rise. Well, shoot, you got too much you can pay attention to.
Right.
You know, but yeah, man, I know for a fact that being judgmental, like you say, that's something that we used to do. That's something that we can do, especially when it impacts us. You know, I know there's been days that I've had that exact same experience when I'm out doing my good deed. You know, when a guy at the gas station, his hustle is, hey man, I ran out of gas. Can you give me some gas money? You know what? Yeah. The first day I gave you some gas money, I come back 2 weeks later, same dude at the gas station. He don't remember me.
That's right.
You know, so
That's right.
if you give me some gas money, no man, let's push your car up to the pump. And I'll pay for it like that.
Exactly.
And then it's now, man, I say, see, now I got a reason to judge you.
That's right.
Remember it. And I can sit back and say, man, a couple of weeks ago I gave you some money. And he quickly scurries off because it's not a car to push. You know.
That's right.
And our wisdom comes through that experience. You know, once you experience it once, because I used to just be like, nah, I ain't giving you, man, I ain't giving you nothing. But guess what? If I can, God bless me and allow me to be able to do that, then I should do it. You know, I ain't gonna fill your tank up, man. But if you just trying to get home, you know, I ain't gonna question you. I ain't gonna where you stay at. You know, I don't even want to get involved in that. But I give you a few dollars, put some gas in your car till I come back next weekend. You hit me up for a few more dollars. I gotta come with a different angle. You know,
right? Yeah,
and I'm still not mad at you because guess what? That's your hustle.
that's right.
That's how you managing to survive and unfortunately, you know, everybody is in hustle mode constantly. That's the Western way of world. That's the Western way of the world.
Yeah, and you know, man, as you're talking, I'm just sitting here thinking about the wisdom. I'm not trying to pat myself on the back, but every person that lives and experience things, it comes from knowledge, understanding, and then wisdom. And so all of us that have life experiences have some wisdom to teach other people. But think about a lot of our communities, it's children raising children.
Yes.
It's, not the mama raising the children, but the oldest daughter raising the children. And sometimes the mama is so young. And so, this is what we're missing. There's a lot of wisdom being passed down to some of our young people. And they're out there literally trying to make life changing decisions and sometimes just everyday survival on their own rather than having a parent to rely on. So yeah, we really got a lot of work to do as a community. And this is one of my platforms where I try to do that. And again, I'm thankful to everybody that came out tonight, everybody that listened, everybody that stayed and listened to the whole entire show, because it's a tough time. And in tough times, they say that tough people make it through tough times. I can't speak on myself if I'm going to make it through this the right way or not, but I'm certainly going to strive. And with friends like my brother here and many of you that are on the show tonight, I know that I will make it. And just the last couple of statements, I wanted to say something specifically to men, and specifically married men. Every person's desire is based in something. You know what I mean? If I have a desire to listen to jazz music, it may have been because my father loved jazz music, and while I was growing up, he used to play jazz music around the house. A lot of times we pattern ourselves. I'm talking specifically to men now. We pattern ourselves on what our fathers did. We pattern our behaviors, our thoughts, a lot of times on what they did. But we also have to start evaluating what makes sense for what we are going through, because some things that we think and some things that we were raised thinking, some things that we were conditioned by our parents and family may need to be changed. Mm-hmm. And I'm saying that because if none of you have been with a woman that lost her child, I'm only 3 weeks into it. And I know my wife has not been able to, and I don't know when she will be able to think about anything other than her child. And, I rely on my wife. She does so much for me. And I pray that I do so much for her that she realizes that she has to rely on me. But, I've been off of my correct eating habits because she has had no energy to be in the kitchen, and nor did I. And I wasn't going to try to put no burden on her like that. And I also want to make a comment. I don't even know if she would appreciate this, but I got to say it because as Black men, we just don't have conversations that are meaningful enough that we can pass on to the next generation so that our sons can stop making the same stupid mistakes that we make. But what I actually had this thought today. What would my wife be thinking if we were physically intimate? She lost a child. Sex is how you make children. So she got to be thinking about giving birth to a child, which takes her right back to her child. So I'm just saying that just as a little of me being a little transparent and vulnerable. Brothers, we have to be, and I'm challenging myself with this. I'm not just saying it to you. I'm saying this as I'm going through this. I think that a lot of times what I want, my desire, what my focus is, becomes my priority. So what my wife wants becomes secondary, or what she's thinking becomes secondary. But this process has taught me that that's not the way to treat a wife in general. And so if I can figure out a way during this time to be more cognizant of her feelings, more cognizant of her thoughts, more cognizant of her comfort, then I can do that at any other time. And so let's all just I pray that lesson to all us married brothers, that our wives deserve our attention and they deserve our desire, which it should be, to comfort them as much as they comfort us. I know my wife has been a comfort for me. And our minister told us something. He said to us during the services for our daughter, he said, Akili, you were made for her. And Tawana, you were made for him. The strength that the two of you have was put in you so that you could be there for each other in a time like this. It was a pretty poignant thought. I mean, I've always thought that we were made for each other, but the way he put it, it just took it to a different level. And that's, what I was telling my mother. I was with my mother the other day, and she was talking about the things that my father did not do. He was good at being a provider. He was a smart man. He was this, he was that, but he wasn't good here, and he wasn't good there, and he wasn't good there. My mother never downed my father when he was alive. My mother never said anything negative about my father as we were coming up. And that always was the reason why I had so much admiration, respect, and love for him. If she had told me some of the things that she told me since his death, I probably would have looked at him a bunch different. But my point is that my mother protected my father. But I don't know how much my father protected my mother. And so anytime I get a chance to go speak to my mother and listen to her pain, I don't want my wife to feel that way. And I don't know at what point I am going to grow or where I have grown to not be that way. But this last 21 days has made me much more aware and much more in tune to my wife's feelings. I'm kind of embarrassed to say that it took something like this for it to happen, but I'm not embarrassed to say it because I didn't know anything about it. I didn't have that example in my household. And so I'm thankful. Again, like I said in the beginning, there were so many beautiful things that have come out of the hardship of this last 21 days. I'm going to be a much, much better man going through this, and whatever the end result is going to be, I'm going to be a better man, and I'm thankful. So I thank you, brother Dave, for being a part of my life. I thank you for coming on tonight, spending some of your time. I know you got somewhere else you got to be, and I'm also thankful to all of you that, again, stayed. Those of you who consistently come and support the show. I pray that you all forgive me. I just didn't want to get into a lot of the comments because I'm trying to just, keep my emotions under wrap. But I am going to respond to all of your statements. I will go through and look at them all. To all of you who rely on me for this Tuesday show, for those of you who have been reaching out to me, and those of you who I was in contact, I pray that you understand that for the last 3 weeks, I just have had no ability, no energy, nor even a desire to do anything other than to try to heal and help my family. But I plan to start working towards that, reaching out, getting back in touch with people, answering your questions, letting you know that more than likely next week I'll probably get back to doing some consultations and things of that nature. But I just wanted to thank you all for your patience. Thank you for the support. And I pray that this show helps somebody, and maybe even all of you, to be able to put certain things in proper context, if that may be. If I need to learn something from you all, I will. But I pray that there was something that Allah had for me to give you all this evening. So thank you, brother.
All right, I appreciate you.
Yes, sir. All right, everybody. So y'all have a wonderful rest of your day. And remember, we right back in it. We're reading Medical Apartheid. So just multiply 32, it is now, times 7. And that's the page that we should be on. I'm going to try to get myself back on track within the next couple of weeks. And remember, your health is definitely worth all the hard work. And in a society like we live in, it takes hard work to have good health, physical, mental, spiritual, and psychologically. And again, I pray that you got some news that you can use today. And may God bless you with a wonderful rest of your week. And we'll see you next week on the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Peace.